Storyboard, we speak to Cheuk Chiang, CEO Asia Pacific Omnicom Media Group, about the importance of technology and digital media in predicting future trends. We speak to Andrew Frawley, Global CEO Epsilon, about the importance of data and data-driven marketing. AdLabs Imagica is drawing a parallel between crows and humans. How? We find out in today's notice board. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shivani Gharat. One man who's excited about India growing increasingly digital is Cheuk Chiang, CEO Asia Pacific Omnicom Media Group. He speaks to Storyboard Editor Anant Rangaswami about the evolving advertising world and the importance of technology and digital media. He says that the effect that technology has on consumer is a great way of predicting where things are moving. Let's hear the full conversation.
Cheuk, welcome back to India.
Thank you.
So tell us your view of what's happening in our country.
Well, I think at the moment it's on the cusp of probably the most exciting period in advertising. And I think a whole range of different things in India are actually making it happen right now. We look at what the government are doing with Making in India. We look at Digital India. We combine those initiatives and those initiatives that in many respects stir up a lot of the excitement that's occurring in this country, together with this underlying strong Indian desire to drive innovation. And we're going to see some great innovation come here as well. So
you were talking about what's going to happen because of the mobile phone rollout, the 4G rollout,
yeah,
and 4K throughput. So what is the impact of that?
Well, so towards the end of this year, as you know, Reliance Jio are launching their 4G technology, and it's going to give Indians, 80% of Indians, access to 4G technology. This higher speed access allows many more Indians to get access to great content, allows them to get access to smartphone technology, and allows them to actually see better content, and from an advertising point of view, for brands to better connect with consumers as well.
While connectivity and so on is solved, but your media planning side is solved, the buying side is solved through people like you. What do you think will happen on the content side? Because when we go to rural India, we need content in the Indian languages. It's not enough to have English and Hindi.
Yeah, of course, but a lot of that content is going to be created by consumers. And you probably think, well, how is that possible? But when you think about the time you had a feature phone, which was how long ago?
10 years ago, I guess.
10 years ago. Were you back then taking photos of your children and grandchildren? Were you producing films? Were you sharing content, an interesting piece of film or an ad that you saw? You weren't doing any of that back then. But when you have access to technology that allows you to get access to that great infrastructure, and you combine that with a lot of the high quality production capabilities we have today, 4K technology, that high definition film, it makes the whole experience far more satisfying.
Right. Now tell me, what is the change for OMD and PhD in India once we see these transformations?
We're gearing up now already. So I think the first thing we're looking at today, in fact, we had an interesting presentation. I shared with the team a presentation on trends from CES this year. And my explanation of why every year we go to Las Vegas to kickstart the year to look at technology is because technology is where often a lot of the media trends come from, because I guess we look at it almost like the domino effect, the line of causality, we call it.
Right.
So the effect that technology has then on consumers, and then the impact then on brands and advertising, I think is a great way to understand or predict where things are moving. Now, when you look at technology and you look at some of the trends that are occurring in technology, I mentioned infrastructure as one of those. You look at interface, so screen technology, and what's happening with the high definition TVs. You look at high resolution, you look at 3D, you look at the technology that comes with that, the voice recognition technology. It's all very, very exciting. And you add to that the final component, which is internet. And internet, it gives us the ability through IP technology and cookie technology to better understand behavior and how people interact with each other, then you think about the content that you can actually make. So high definition content, beautiful to look at, but also content that understands what a consumer needs and wants because of their internet usage, fed through bigger pipes much faster, then it offers a whole new environment. So that's why we go to CES every year, to understand what's happening in technology, so we can then bring it back to the business here and then apply it to the business. One of the areas we spoke a lot about today is this whole virtual reality area, VR.
VR, I guess.
Yeah. So the VR is, I mean, and right now you can buy a VR device. I'm not sure whether you're aware of this. An Indian company, so 2,000 rupees.
Yeah.
You can actually buy a VR device. You plug your phone in and utilize that VR technology.
Right.
So the thing we spoke about today was that VR hasn't really taken off for really the reason that we've had the technology there before. So Facebook invested in Oculus back in 2012, but really nothing's taken off. And the reason why is because we haven't had the content there. But right now, there are cameras coming out that allow us to be able to shoot that content. Exactly. And you think about the explosion of that content and then the impact it has on brands. So let's say with Unilever here, we'll be able to produce videos showing you how to cook, and you can have a master chef.
Right.
Almost you feel like you're actually in front of the master chef as he or she is actually cooking the ingredients up for you, and you can hear all those sounds just with a VR device. So you think about how powerful that is and how we can use some of that technology to better connect brands with consumers.
So Cheuk, we've spent a lot of time talking about content. What about the planning side? You know, with big data coming at you at the speed it is, will it change the way you advise your clients to target your consumers? Are you going to do it the same old demographics, you know, age, gender, sex, and so on? Or will it be saying real-time data coming in and we can target consumers differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ability of where the digitized world is taking us is that it gives us access to, as I mentioned before, through IP technology and through cookie technology, much richer data. So in the old days, you would have research that we conducted after an ad has gone out. Right now, we get real-time data. It allows us to optimize our media plans, but also be able to then target messages that are far more effective and far more realistic. So let's say that you are in the market for a car. We would assume that given a man of your status, you know, after a prestige vehicle, let's say for example, that we would target you using high-end media or high-end connection points. Let's say Fortune.com. Yeah, you're highly, you know, you're well read.
Forbes.com.
Forbes.com. Yeah.
My group owns Forbes in India, so you say Forbes.
So Forbes.com. Let's say Forbes.com. The ability to reach you at Forbes is fantastic, but at the same time, you've got other interests as well. So you may go onto fishing.com,
absolutely,
which would be a lower cost to reach. We now have access to that data. So you think about the efficiency from a media planning point of view to be able to target you in that right environment.
So again, it's taste graphs rather than demographics.
Yes.
You track what I do rather than what bare numbers give me.
That's right. But it's more exciting than that.
Absolutely.
So where it gets more exciting is when we marry that behavioral data that we just talked about with transactional data.
Right.
So the ability to then reach someone at the right point through the purchase funnel is hugely powerful with the right message.
Right. So tell me, with all these changes and your optimism about where India is headed, what are the changes we're going to see in OMG India? That's OMD and PhD. So what is going to happen here?
I mean, we are continuously building our operation here. So I'm not sure whether you are aware of this, but we have one of the most advanced data and analytics offerings in the country, but also probably in the region. So Analytics Solutions actually has 2 hubs globally. One hub based out of New York City that works 24/7 because it has a hub here in Gurgaon, India. So we have a very, very large team here that actually continues that when the clock finishes in the US, when the day finishes in the US, it continues here in this part of the world. So these are teams of programmers, data analysts, that continue on with that side of things to help clients manage their data.
Tell me, what changes would you see in India in the next 1 or 2 years? What are the changes that you'll see India playing? You know, you've all spoken about how knowledge is moving east in previous interviews with others. So what are the changes you think you will see in India for OMG?
Will we transfer to the West? Well, we're starting to see it now. I mean, we see examples like KKT, and we see what this market's doing with mobile, and what you guys are doing to lead mobile. I think some of the things that you're doing in the e-commerce space, I think companies like Snapdeal and Flipkart and what they're doing, I think is very, very interesting, and there's a lot of learnings that outside companies can learn from, particularly the utility component of what they actually offer, of which some of the companies in the West don't offer. I think is very, very interesting. But I think also because of just the sheer size of the population and the speed at which you're growing is going to influence that as well. So I think the number currently there's 254 million internet users at the moment. You think about the number of data subscribers, that's another 320 million as well. You think about the sheer volume of people actually on those particular channels at the one time, then the need then to drive activity and connect with consumers is also going to increase the level of sophistication in the way we actually reach consumers.
So finally, Cheuk, tell me, for India, what is the one area you're going to focus on in the next year?
I'd say absolutely continue to build great resources and people. It's about getting great digitally driven people, digitally minded people, because that's where the world is moving to. Now, you need to consider where the business is here. So right now, in terms of digital spend levels, it's still relatively low. So 15% digital, 85% traditional media, and that's because the reach of that rural audience, that 69% of rural audiences, that traditional media works much more strongly. But when you think about, as I said, the exciting technology that's coming, that 4G technology that's coming.
How do you see the ratio changing?
That ratio is going to change substantially. It's going to change substantially. It's going to give people
Can you put a number to it? From 15, will it see 25, 20, 30?
Well, they predict.
What do you predict?
I think that what they predict is actually quite correct, which is about 30% of the audience by 2019. It'll be digitally driven. So different to the numbers in the West, but larger numbers you've got to consider, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that number is a safe number, but to round about the correct number in terms of adoption. But it makes it very, very exciting. So that's why we are upskilling, we're automating, and we're taking our talent towards that direction. So that's
fantastic. So hopefully the next time I interview you, we'll see the output on a smartphone and not on a TV set.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing you on the iPad.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cheuk.
Thank you.
Digitally minded people is what OMG is looking for. It is time for us to slip into a short break. When we return, we speak to Andrew Frawley, Global CEO Epsilon, about the importance of data and data-driven marketing.